Alright guys, in this video we have some very interesting PlayStation 5 information to go over and talk about. The first thing we are discussing has to do with a patent that was just recently published by Sony that hints at DLSS-like image reconstruction technology. And I know that's kind of a mouthful, but this could potentially be the secret sauce that everybody has been waiting to hear about that Sony has baked into the PlayStation 5. The idea of the PlayStation 5's secret sauce has been something that has been talked about for a while now. Granted, it hasn't been that frequently, but it's still something that people have been expecting. We've been hearing the rumors of RDNA 3 technology and all of this stuff being inside the PlayStation 5. And when it comes to that, the truth is you can't really call the PlayStation 5 RDNA 1, RDNA 1.5, RDNA 2, or 3 because it's so highly customized and Mark Cerny worked so closely with AMD that you just can't classify it as one or the other. It has a lot of unique features that may or may not be implemented into future, iterations of RDNA or whatever. So anyway, getting back to this patent, essentially what this DLSS-like image reconstruction technology would do for the PlayStation 5 is we know with the PlayStation 4 Pro, Sony heavily relied on checkerboard rendering. And I think we can all agree that it certainly got the job done. And when you look at a lot of games that Sony has produced, while they may not be native 4K, it really doesn't matter because they just look really, really good. And the resolutions look high, they look crisp, and the games just look really good. This is essentially going to be something that is the next step. And it's much more sophisticated, it sounds like, and advanced than checkerboard rendering, though. And what this could end up doing for Sony, again, if it is actually baked into the PlayStation 5, is it would allow developers to utilize things like ray tracing, heavy ray tracing potentially. It would allow them to focus on higher frame rates and add all of the extra bells and whistles, if you will, to their games while still being able to make it seem as though this game is potentially native 4K without actually being native 4K. Now, to some people, I know that may sound like smoke and mirrors and whatnot. It may sound like, oh, that's just, an illusion, or it's just, finding a workaround, but not necessarily, because I've been kind of looking into this DLSS technology. I believe it comes from NVIDIA. I think they're the first ones to really do something with it. It sounds like people really, really like it because it produces amazing results. So let's do a little bit of reading here so you guys can understand exactly what this patent is saying. It says here, a new patent from Sony regarding image reconstruction technology in the vein of NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling technology that could be used for the upcoming PlayStation 5 console surfaced online recently. The new patent, which was filed back in 2019 but was only published on July 23rd, details technology that is capable of reconstructing an image using the plurality of reference images through machine learning. The patent is sadly only available in Japanese as of now, so many of the details are still unknown, but from the general description, it seems like this system will be an improvement over checkerboard rendering that is used by the PlayStation 4 Pro console. So I'm going to attempt to read the excerpt here from the patent itself, and it's quite a mouthful, but let's go for it anyway. An information processing device for acquiring plurality of reference images obtained by imaging an object that is to be reproduced, acquiring a plurality of converted images obtained by enlarging or shrinking each of the plurality of reference images, executing machine learning using a plurality of images to be learned as teaching data that include the plurality of converted images, and generating pre-learned data that is used for generating a reproduction image that represents the appearance of the object. So they sure did use the word plurality a lot in this description here, but it goes on to say, as companies do file patents for technology that eventually go unused, it is not certain that the PlayStation 5 will feature this image reconstruction technology that is detailed in the new Sony patent. NVIDIA's DLSS 2.0 technology is proving how such technology can result in better visual quality at lower resolutions. So there's no doubt that something similar would benefit next-gen console games greatly. So this is why you need to be paying attention to this. because what this patent is essentially saying is that Sony, if again, this is a real thing, this could be their secret sauce. They're going to be able to achieve overall better visual quality at lower resolutions, where people are just literally not going to be able to see the difference. And it will allow developers to have more resources at their disposal to allow the frame rates to go higher, to allow full ray tracing to be in effect. And there doesn't necessarily have to be a compromise. I mean, if you see an image and it looks native 4K to you, if you put it next to an actual native 4K resolution image, but the image is actually using this technology and it's locked at, say, 1440p, but you cannot spot the difference, does that not sound like an ideal solution here? And maybe this is exactly why Sony decided, rather than worrying so much about having more compute units, worrying so much about the GPU and beefing that up as much as they possibly can, this is why they opted in for the better SSD and the better IO throughput and just having an overall faster console with zero bottlenecks, because this is the technology that they've been working on, because they know in the end this is going to be able to make image quality or the visual quality of their games look basically no different than native 4K. And again, I've been kind of reading into this NVIDIA DLSS technology, and people really love it. Like, it produces amazing results. And so there's a good chance maybe Sony saw this and they were like, you know what, we should create a similar technology of our own here, because there's no doubt it could greatly benefit their games and their console and what they're trying to achieve here. So yeah, guys, I had to take some time to highlight this because we could very well be looking at Sony's secret sauce right now. This could very well be the thing that Sony has been working on for a long time, to try to allow the PlayStation 5 to essentially punch above its weight class and produce results that, frankly, people were just not anticipating. This is why when people tell you you cannot go based off of the spec sheets, you cannot look at the raw specs and just assume you know what this console will or will not be capable of, because there's always going to be surprises. And this is something that Sony is kind of known for at this point, right? Where they're able to do things that people just weren't expecting. They're able to punch above their weight class, and the spec sheets just do not tell the full story. All you have to do is take a good look at some of these PlayStation 4 Pro exclusive games and how good they look to know that, right? So yeah, let me know your thoughts about this. I do want to, before closing out this video, talk a little bit about some of the information we're getting about the PlayStation 5's operating system. And we could be hearing about all of this stuff sometime in August or maybe even September. I mean, there's no doubt we're going to hear something in August. We just don't know if Sony plans to reveal it all at one time. But it says here, PlayStation 5 operating system info is due soon, says Insider, and teases deep level integration with games. So it says here, Twitter user and renowned industry tipster Daniel Ahmad has revealed that we'll be getting more news on the PlayStation 5 OS in the near future, which should include deep level integration with games for a better user experience. Ahmad's comments come following a mention of a PlayStation Activities feature, which has yet to be revealed by Sony. This also harkens back to a Wired interview with Mark Cerny last year, which mentioned a revamped user interface. And so his tweet says, this is something we should start hearing more about soon. Deep level integration between the PlayStation 5 OS and games to improve the overall experience for users. Now, this is very exciting to me because honestly, these are some of the things that I think are going to have the biggest impact on the overall user experience with the console. And this is something that Sony has really seemingly put a lot of effort into. And this is why I'm all about the idea of generations. And when Sony says they believe in generations, I 110% fully support that, because they're not just saying that for marketing reasons. They literally believe in generations to a point where going forward, they want to innovate. They want to bring some serious innovations to the operating system of the PlayStation 5, and the deep level integration for games is part of that. And it sounds awesome. Like, we don't know exactly what this means. We don't know exactly what to expect, but it sounds like it's going to do some really great things that are just going to make the overall experience just awesome, right? It's one of the things that I'm most excited about when it comes to the PS5. Something else I do want to mention here while we're talking about the operating system before ending this video is we have Twitter user Tidix, who, you know, sometimes comes off as they have inside information or they talk to people who may know some stuff. And occasionally he reveals some stuff on Twitter that may or may not end up being true. However, what we are seeing here does seem like it could be true. It's nothing too significant, but it's still interesting. He goes on to say, PlayStation's next dev kit update arrives in a few weeks, which will feature, quote, retail mode, unquote, so devs can see what the final setup will be. The current system is debug only with PlayStation 4 retail mode. Expect that PlayStation will show off the UI before it goes live to avoid leaks. Now, this was incredibly interesting to me because if it's true, what it should tell you is that any leaked images we may have seen of the PlayStation 5's UI in the past, and I'll probably throw this image up on screen here because I think this is the most popular one that seemed like it was actually real, and maybe it is, but this got some people concerned because they were like, wait a second, Mark Cerny made it sound like the UI of the PlayStation 5 was going to be completely revamped and overhauled and completely different and separate from what we see with the PS4. And then this image leaked out and it got people concerned because they're like, well, this looks almost identical to the PS4. It does look, you know, different in some ways, but mostly similar. The, you know, the squares just look kind of bigger, but overall it just looks like the PS4's UI. And so if what Tidix is saying here is true, where he's getting his information from, I'm assuming it would be from a developer who's aware of this. It sounds like developers have actually not had access to the PlayStation 5's final UI, or maybe they have just no idea what the PS5's UI is going to look like. Now, this falls in line with a lot of the things we've been hearing about the way Sony has been approaching next generation, where they have been trying their absolute best to avoid major leaks of any kind. And this is a really smart way, honestly, for them to avoid it. Now, the only problem here is if this is true, it does make you think, well, how could developers implement features of their games into the UI if there's going to be this deep level integration? Maybe Sony found a way to allow them to do that through the PlayStation 4 looking UI, that they're using the PS4 retail mode, or maybe it's just going to be so easy for them to do it that Sony is not worried about only giving them a couple of months time to make that happen, because if it's something that maybe only takes a week or two of actual, you know, development time to integrate, it's just that simple, that easy, that developer friendly, then yeah, it would make sense that they would hold off as long as they can. And, you know, I can't argue with Tidix's reasoning here, where he says the reason why they've been doing this is to avoid leaks, and this is a very clear indicator that they're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 UI very, very soon, because they want to get ahead of the leaks. We saw Sony do this with the DualSense controller, where they just decided to drop it on Twitter and show everybody what it looks like, because the final version of the DualSense was going out to developers, and Sony's not, you know, they're not ignorant to the fact that if they send this out to developers, one of the developers is going to, you know, put out a screenshot or something anonymously, and they know it will leak, right? And they probably have a very similar approach with the UI. So I thought this was very interesting, guys. I do apologize, this video is running a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I had to take some time to talk about it because this info is really good in my opinion. Sounds like we may be hearing about the PlayStation 5's secret sauce at some point in the not too distant future, and I have a good feeling that Mark Cerny is probably mostly responsible for the creation of it if it does turn out to be true, and it will be interesting to see the type of results it can actually produce in the end. And this could be a literal game changer for Sony in terms of what our expectations actually should be when it comes to overall how good games look visually for the PlayStation 5. So that's the important thing you need to understand about this secret sauce, is this could literally be a game changer, and that's why Sony would have kept it a secret for so long. And it's really good to hear that apparently the PlayStation 5's UI is going to have, you know, deep integration with games. We already know that, but we're going to be seeing it soon. Apparently, developers are getting the final retail mode for the dev kit, which is very, very interesting. So that does it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts about all this stuff down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.